Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for allowing me an opportunity to talk to you today about the state of the city. Let me assure you that the state of the city of Longview is in great shape. We're moving forward. This is, again, a very special time to say that you live in Longview. Look around and you see things taking place in our city, even during times of, some deep recession, minor recession, however Mr. Dyer would call it, but we're still in some difficult times. But you look around your community and you see construction going on, and our community continues to invest into the future. Look around at some of the other communities, you don't see that. But I think we've made a commitment in this community to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars and to continue to invest as we can to make sure that Longview, as this recession ends, we remain in great shape, and I assure you we are in great shape today. What I want to do is just kind of go over some of the things that we're really focused on, and like Dr. Lunsford said, I like the format of the town hall meeting. Some of the things that the council has learned over the years by having these town hall meetings, they're not always pleasant. But we don't at all believe that because we sit up on the city council that we know everything that's going on, that we know what the main issues are. We think we know, but this gives us the opportunity to hear from you and address the issues in a one-on-one situation. So we have a lot of our staff here today, so as we go through some of the questions, if I can't answer them, I'll assure you we'll ask staff to give me a hand. I'm going to start off talking about transportation in the community. George Ritchie Road project moves forward, has been funding $34.3 million to extend the George Ritchie from Gilmer Road to US 259. This project would not have happened if it was not for the partnership between Gregg County, thank you to Judge Stout, City of Longview, Longview Economic Development Corporation, and TxDOT. Our recent 2011 street bonds project is underway. Phase 1 of the upgraded all dirt streets are complete. High Street and MLK Boulevard repavements are complete. Sidewalks, Ms. Casher, where are you? All right. Sidewalks around Fossum Middle School are complete. And coming this year, the intersection improvements on downtown Green Street. Our Longview Train Depot restoration recently opened bid for $1.74 million. Our initial budget was $2.2 million, so we're proud to say that we saved the taxpayers quite a bit of money in this project. The construction of this project anticipated to be completed by the end of 2013. Longview transit routes are expanded and numerous shelters have been added. When we talk about development and employment, like I said to begin with, our economy is still sluggish, but our construction continues at a moderate rate. For fiscal year 2011-2012, there were 130 new houses, 24 new duplexes, and 9 multifamily units built. There was $100+ million in commercial remodeling and new construction. And ladies and gentlemen, again, if you look around, look at some of the projects going on, like on Hawkins Parkway. There's a number of major projects that are getting ready to turn dirt in that area. Retail development, new restaurants, again, popping up everywhere, new stores, and they're not centered in one particular place. They're all over the community. So we continue to see a good economy considering the national and state situation. We continue to have low unemployment. Longview's unemployment 6.6%, still not good enough. And I hate to keep looking, and I see Representative Simpson back there, not to pick on our state people or our federal people, but when Texas is at 7.2 and the U.S. is at 8.1, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's a tribute to the employers and the economy that we have here in Longview, the diverse economy that we continue to be able to keep our unemployment way below national and state averages. The Area Development Magazine, Top 100 again, which ranks Longview number 22 out of 365 metropolitan areas. We'll talk about our health care. Good Shepherd Medical Center, the new emergency room facility. $20 million facility to be constructed adjacent to the Institute for Healthy Living. Longview Regional Medical Center expansion project, multi-million-dollar expansion that will double the size of the hospital with an additional 100 patient beds. That project to be completed by the end of 2013. Our healthcare continues to be the largest employer in the community, and as we see with these types of investments, these size projects, that looks like that will continue well into the future, and we thank both Longview Regional and Good Shepherd for your support of the community. Our city services and our community pride. Recently we started the City Send service request system thanks to Sydney Allen. Where are you, Miss Allen? Ms. Allen, at a town hall meeting, was concerned about the problems with potholes. So we called him old Pothole Allen, and he rides around when he's not counting his money so he can go see where the potholes are. And I do want to congratulate Sydney and Anna Lee for their generosity to the new Laterno facility. Thank you. But seriously, this system allows citizens with iPhones to, if you see something, whether it's trash or things that need to be cut, mowed, if you see potholes, you can actually literally take a picture of it and send it to a GPS location, submit it to the city, and then we have people that go right away to that problem. Our crime rate. From 2010 to 2011, we saw a 13.47% reduction with a 29.33% decrease in violent crime. When you talk about numbers from 2007 to 2011, we've seen our total crime rate drop by 29.9% and a reduction in violent crimes of 45.5%. Ladies and gentlemen, that is substantial. Our 5-year program we put in place back in 2005, the police department has executed greatly, and we are seeing the results now. The new rodeo arena, to all of our Rotary Club buddies in here, was demolished and replaced at a cost of approximately $1 million. Today, we have a nice new facility, new stands, lightings, and even a nice announcer's booth. Strajan Dog Park opened in November 2011. The Jack Mann Splash Pad. This is a great example of a public-private partnership. About a 10,000 square foot facility, and I can assure you at the grand opening, the kids were all over that pad, and matter of fact, throwing quite a bit of water on their moms and dads. Miracle Ballpark, I don't know if many of you heard about that, but a group, the Ambucks, trying to raise money to create a Miracle Ballpark out at Lear Park. And basically, this is a park for handicapped kids to learn to play baseball, to go out and enjoy themselves. If you've been out to the Spring Hill Park, where they made that universally accessible, you'd be amazed at the number of kids, not only from Longview, but throughout the area that are enjoying that. So we're glad to see this group at Ambucks working with us and helping to raise money to create that park. The Longview Arboretum, after many, many years of discussion and planning and thoughts and wishes, finally is coming to a reality. The Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center was contracted to develop the project, and that project moves forward. And I want to report on the Beat the Heat project. Very happy that the United Way took the program over this year. And this year they've installed almost 130 more air conditioners to the low-income, elderly, and poor of our community, and I think that's a very worthwhile program. Keep Longview Beautiful litter index continues to decrease. Again, a great example of volunteers in our community when they were charged to help bring the community standards up when it comes to litter, et cetera. They've done an excellent job, and every year we report to you a declining statistic where it's actually improving quite a bit. This year we got to host the U.S. National Championship balloon races. Hope a lot of you got to go out and see it, but it was a great success, and we're excited about the future. even with everything, ladies and gentlemen, that's going good in our community, we still face challenges. You know, the oil field natural gas industry in our area, I personally am involved with that through several different businesses, but I personally feel that we're seeing the bottom of the slowdown. A lot of us, we reported, well, I reported last year and the year before about the Haynesville Shale and how exciting that was, bringing jobs to the community, bringing tax dollars into the community, and it was. Unfortunately, with the decrease in the price of gas and the lack of real substantial oil finds, a lot of those same people move their assets down to South Texas, West Texas, Western Oklahoma, Southern Kansas, Marcellus, and Pittsburgh. But I'm here to report to you that the bottom is here. The Haynesville starts to pick up now. Our level of inquiries in the Haynesville Shale area have started to pick up drastically, and we're excited about the future. I want to also predict, as soon as we can get this crazy election out the way, and Washington really gets back to work, I would be willing to bet that next year this time we'll see $4 gas, and that would greatly increase the amount of activity in our area. Not gasoline, natural gas. Now let me tell you about that. We recently went to a natural gas filling station, and I'm glad that some individuals in Longview now are investing to bring on 3 different full-service natural gas pumping service stations. But we were able to go and view one in Mansfield, Louisiana, and they had a sign out there on that main highway, and it said on there, gas, $1.79. Well, while we're standing there, those cars are I want to get me some of that $1.79 gas. Well, that's natural gas. That's not regular gas. But that is something that's coming, and we want to explore as a community how we can convert more of our city, possibly county vehicles, school vehicles to natural gas. It not only helps the economy in our industry, but in our area, it's a good, solid, reliable source of fuel now, and I hope everybody will continue to look at that. Sales tax, this year, our sales tax ended up at flat. We were optimistic at the beginning of the year. Our fiscal year last year, we projected a 2% increase, ended up at exactly 0. Mr. Willard argued with me that no, we've actually got $8,000 more than we got last year. On a $150 million budget, that took, I didn't debate him a whole bunch about that. But we're actually basing this year's budget on actually a -1 or a decrease of 1% over this particular year. I personally believe that we'll surpass that as, again, we continue to see the economy in our area pick up. Another item or challenge many of you read, probably are a little tired of reading about, hearing about. I know I'm tired of newspaper and not really, y'all too, but the TV stations and whatnot about the animal shelter. And I know it's got passion both ways. And feeling that passion, we decided to create a task force to help us take everybody's pros and cons, and let me assure you it's passionate both ways. And I fought it for 3 years and said, you know, let's get some good citizens together. We've done that in the past to tackle major issues, and I'm hoping within the next 60 to 90 days that this task force will bring recommendations to the City Council for us to consider to move forward to making a better life for those animals that didn't choose to be put in the situation they got put into. So we will, you know, save our animals, and we will do something and put in place a long-term solution to this issue. The other thing we continue to work on is educating our workforce. We talk each year about how some of our major employers are starting to you know, have retirement. The baby boomers are leaving, and they're not finding the numbers of qualified help that they need, the skill sets they need. So that process continues to work. The number of kids that are involved in the workforce development programs led by Longview Economic Development Corporation and in conjunction with most of the high schools, not only in Longview but in the region, is continuing to grow. The number of kids in that last year, it started at 0. Last year was at 2,000. It's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 now. So it continues to work really well for us and get some qualified people into the workforce. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm blessed. I feel blessed. I feel we're all blessed to live in the city of Longview. There's a lot of hard-working, can-do, passionate people here that continue to be in the forefront of seeing the best for the community. Sometimes it gets contentious, no question. Everybody has a passion, and the tough job for us as city council is trying to, you know, weigh it all out and keep it in front of us and try to address all of it, but you got to do it through a process, okay? I mean, you can't do everything everybody wants you to do. Taxpayers, as stewards of your money, we can't do everything and be good taxpayers, stewards. So we'll continue to work, but the main thing we're trying to do, we continue to try to do in the city of Longview, is position ourselves for the future. You know, we're investing right now in the future, and what kind of community do we want to be in the future? And it takes investment. Last year it was the roads and streets that we brought to the voters, $52+ million. That project's moving forward, but that will enhance and help us in the future be a better community. We're going to meet the challenges that we face, and there's a long list of accomplishments that show you that we have. But I continue to ask for your support, for your patience, for your communication, to make sure that we always know as a city council what you, the citizens, believe are the real issues. Again, we sit up at the city council and we have an agenda, and we think we know what all the issues are, but as we find in each one of our town hall meetings, something comes up that we didn't really know was as big an issue as it turns out that it is. So at that, I'm going to move forward with the question and answering. So I'll go to Dr. Lunsford.
Yeah, let me get things started, Mr. Mayor, and that's the other microphone right there, so please, as I'm asking my question, someone can be prepared with theirs. Mayor, I'd like to ask you about gateways to the community. You know, over there at LeTourneau, this is really important to us. We'll have thousands of guests come to our campus each year. They come in from the airport. They come in from I-20. Sometimes their that is their first impression of Longview. Sometimes it's their only impression of Longview. The gateways, the I-20 corridor, that's not new to you. It's part of your Vision 2015. I'm just interested, as you said here, beginning your last term, what do you see going forward with that? How do we address that issue of beautifying those entryways? Is it time for a comprehensive plan? There's a lot of conversations going on about how to do that, but just interested in your opinion about what the city's role should be in that.
Okay, thank you. Recently you read about, there was an article in the paper that talked about, trying to dress up Estes Parkway to where we're planting trees and shrubs and some things to try to, beautify the area, if you will. And there's a study going on right now, Dr. Lunsford, and basically what we're doing, we did have the Texas Forestry help us with this program, what kind of trees to use. Matter of fact, Kasia Williams, our city council person in that area, was very instrumental in working with them. And where we're at today is we actually have our engineering doing an overlay. They actually did a drawing for us. And I don't know if you've seen it or not, but you should see that. And what they're doing is they're overlaying it using our GIS system so we can see where all our infrastructure is. I mean, we can't just go start digging holes. All right, so we may have to move some electrical lines, water sewer lines, or we have to plant elsewhere. The other thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you got, satisfactory irrigation, enough irrigation to be able to grow the trees, so that's ongoing. The other thing is, we know that there's properties in and around Estes Parkway, I-20. I can tell you that there's several things that are working, several possible opportunities we might have to purchase some of those properties, to try to clean them up, fix them up, recruit some of the major businesses. I hear of a Cracker Barrel that's, and I hope I'm not taking somebody's, I don't see that developer here, but anyway, I mean, there are some major things that are going on there, some of which I can't tell at this time, but we're very focused on I-20 corridor at Estes Parkway and what we need to do to clean up and to enhance that area, because that is the first thing that people see. And with Laterno being such a gem to the community, that's very much on our mind as well. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. My name is Kimberly Fish, and I represent the group Go West Longview. And the question I have for you very much echoes the same sentiment that Dr. Lunsford issued, and that is dealing with entry points in our city. And we feel that that Highway 80 corridor along the Loop and the Lear Park area represent major entry points for the city of Longview. And we'd like to know what the city has done to budget both for our infrastructure issues in that area and also for economic development in the Lear Park and the Highway 80 corridor.
Okay. I really can't speak to LEDCO incentives in that specific area, because that's generally generated by people with interest coming to Longview Economic Development for some specific project. So I'm not aware that that's taking place at this time. When it comes to infrastructure, if you go back and look at what the city of Longview spent through our CIP, capital improvement projects, through our water fund alone, the amount of dollars going into upgrading infrastructure in West Longview, it's substantial, and it's probably more than we've spent anywhere else in the community. So we understand, you know, the issues that have been brought by yourself and the Go West group, and I think it's important for us to continue to work together to find opportunities. I think I've spoken to you about some of the major grocery chains that have looked in and around the Pine Tree area, and I've also discussed with you what I've heard, the reason why some of them have not located there. Some of the major grocery chains, ladies and gentlemen, they want to sell alcohol. And I'm not telling a secret to anybody that doesn't know that. And if they can't, they're not locating there. So there's some things that Go West has to continue to do to help educate the community in that area to try to find ways to enhance and attract businesses to that area. But infrastructure-wise, we continue to work on that, and look forward to continue working with y'all, Kimberly. Y'all better get a bigger mic. Or a bigger stand, anyway, I'm sorry. I hope your back doesn't hurt.
Not today.
That's a lead.
Appreciate it. Mayor Dean, Darwin Winfield, and serve on the board with Keep Longview Beautiful. Earlier you mentioned about the litter index, and I want to say thank you to the community and to the city for all the efforts that have taken place there in helping beautify our community. But one of the neat things that has taken place that I'm noticing a lot more of and like to hear your comments on are the blue 98-gallon recycled buckets that are going on, and seeing more and more on the curbsides nowadays, and like to hear what your thoughts are on our recycling within the community.
Well, let me answer your question with a question. How many in this room have one of the new 90-gallon units? Okay, more than I would have thought, but not near enough.
Not near enough.
Come on, guys, it's $1. $1 a month. And if you get lucky, they accidentally drop you 2 of them. I've had a couple of elderly women call me, when are they going to charge me on my water bill? I got this can out here. I said, don't worry about it. They'll catch you sooner or later. But no, the tough, great question. And by the way, to all the volunteers, and I know Rotary picks up during the annual citywide cleanup and a number of other organizations, so please continue the good work, and please use that City Send program when you see mattresses and furniture thrown out on our roads, because what we want to do is we want to go try to see if we can find information as to who that belongs to so we can bring it back to them. or bring them to the Hotel Gregg County. No, Judge, we don't want to put them over there. Let me tell you something. The potential with recycling our community is unbelievable. But it's a change of culture. In my household, of course, we had this little old thing, and my wife, you know, she just throw everything in the garbage can. And we'd get that little old tray filled in about a day and a half, and it's just she and I when the grandkids aren't there. But anyway, put it out in the garage, and stuff's blowing all over the place, and I ain't doing that anymore, so that ended. So now we got this big can. I mean, it's a big can, and on the rollers and everything, and I got to go behind her. She's throwing Coke cans in the trash. I got time to put the trash out. I got to go fish them out. But it's educating our households as to what you can put in and how much you can recycle. And if we do that, ladies and gentlemen, we recycle about 1/4. Is that fair, James? Maybe 1/4 of what we're capable of recycling. Now, when we put all of that trash into the dump, we're paying by the pound. Okay, so if we reduce how much poundage we're putting into the dump and we put it into the recycle, that's going to bring money back to the ratepayers of Longview in terms of we won't need as much money to pay the dump site because we're not sending as much. So we ought to be able to cut your rate, so your sanitation rate. So and there's potential for the city to receive some pretty good payback because of the amounts of you know, recyclables we're sending out to the recycle place. So everybody needs to, I promise you, I only get to do this maybe once or twice more. I hope I see a whole lot more hands next time. My big old can's awful lonesome over there on Holly Ridge. I go put it out and, But I guess I'll have to go door to door knocking. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Hugman.
Hey, Mayor. You were talking about George Ritchie and the expansion of the corridor, and I think that's awesome. And then you spoke about the developments on Hawkins and Fourth. What does the city have plans, because there is going to be a lot more traffic in that area? What are the plans, 5-year, 10-year, for that area?
Okay. The immediate plan is the intersection at 259 and Hawkins. Okay, I mean, we all know what that's like. So the immediate plan, which is part of the $52.6 million bond election last year, is to get that thing fixed. And we also know that Hawkins now is being extended through the mall, and on out to, I think, what is it, Tryon Road, Judge? So there's a bunch of work going there. But I work out at the Institute. I see the traffic trying to get in and out of there. You know, we've been approached about putting another red light. Well, that'd give us a red light at the western portion of Airline, the eastern portion of Airline. One would be there, one at 4th Street, one at 2. So we're going to have to do some work on engineering. That was just not one of the projects when the task force came together to create the bond election thought should be put in front of some of the other things like 259 and Hawkins. But I agree that we need to do something there. Mr. Tidwell.
Mayor, thank you so much for doing this. As everyone said, obviously, if you look in the area Ann was talking about, there's been some tremendous development along 4th Street, along Eastman 259, as well as other areas, so we're making a lot of progress there. I know there continues to be some challenges with development services and working with developers and builders. Could you elaborate a little bit on what the city's doing to continue to make that a smoother and more efficient process?
Good. Back in 2000, well, actually before I even ran for mayor, matter of fact, when I first ran for the city council, one of the first, and as representative from the Spring Hill community, which was exploding with development, I can assure you I heard lots of problems from and these are primarily the home builders, and I know Richard hears from some of them today. And we made some progress, but as mayor, one of the commitments I made was to try to really get rid of that stigma and be a customer oriented and trying to make sure it becomes a more smooth process. Some of the things we did, number one, we brought all the developmental services into one building. It was scattered out, so somebody was trying to get permits for one thing or the other had to go all around town, burn about a day doing it or more. So we've done that, and that's working good. One of the other things we've done is, you know, Kevin Cummins' help as the director of that department. We've also brought in another person as the assistant director. Am I using the correct term? Okay. Miss Ingrid Self here. And Ingrid's job is to meet with the developers. She's sort of your liaison. Her job is to find the one way to get something done instead of what we've seen sometimes in the past, the 15 reasons why not to get something done. Okay? The city also has adopted the International Fire Code. I mean, when it comes to fire protection and public safety, which is our #1 concern, we follow the same set of codes that Tyler or anybody else follows, okay? Our developmental codes are pretty standard as well, so we're not out there trying to do something different than what other communities are doing. One of the things I find when I get calls from the angry developer, I very seldom, I think I've been up to developmental services one time with a customer that had me pretty well convinced. They were doing an under-the-street bore and had me pretty well convinced that the city had really worked him over. Well, let's go. So call Kevin, get his engineer. And of course, understand engineers, and I hope there's not too many engineers in here, but I love engineers. I call on and sell engineers. But you know, engineers, it's black or it's white, okay? There's no gray. It's black or it's white. So we take this group over, they're doing a project over off of Fairmont, and they need to do an under the street bore. Man, they told us to do it, then when we got ready to do it, and then when we did it, we went ahead and did it. Now the inspector come out there and says, hey, you shouldn't have done it, and wow, wait, whoa. So we go over to Kevin's office. Well, come to find out, the guy missed where he was supposed to do the underground bore about, was it 22 feet? Come on. And I mean, you brought me, you know, I mean, I'll go to battle, but don't send me to kill a bear with a pea shooter. I mean, you know, well, the guy's drawing, his engineering drawing that he paid money to get done was 22 feet off, and it was in an easement that we had fire easements and everything else in. So, I mean, the big thing is, and again, we put a heavy load on Miss Ingrid here to really, really study the projects and make sure that the developer knows from A to Z what the process is, and to make sure that we got proper information. Do we still make mistakes, and are we still sometimes, you know, too hard? Absolutely, okay? But her job, again, and I hate to keep pointing, but her job, and you know, if everybody knows Ingrid, I mean, with Habitat for Humanity, she dealt with the city and building all those homes. She knows the business, and her job is to, #1, keep phone calls from coming to us, #1, but also, I mean, to sit down with the customer and find out exactly what the issues are, if there's issues, and get them worked out. Okay, so that we don't get that phone call, because that's not the way it should work. Okay, so there's still work to be done, but you know, when public safety is and will always be our #1 responsibility, we have to follow the codes, and sometimes it's not easy to say no. But then you hear from people that are doing major projects in town and talking about how well things have gone. Okay, typically when we find that there's people still upset, it's usually the smaller little development, which they're all important to us, but it's because they can't afford to hire the engineers to do what they got to do, you know, to meet the permits and do the process. So, but we still have room for us to improve, and we will. I'm sorry to mean to make you stand for so long.
Thank you. I appreciate the seat. Just to touch on Ann's point again, we've talked a lot about George Ritchie Road extension and the Hawkins extension, and you know, that northeastern portion of the city where we've got the Special Water Utility District, Tryon Special Water Utility District. Could you talk a little bit about the impact that Special Water District has on development and what the city's doing to encourage development in that area?
They have a bear hole around our neck. Does that kind of tell it? There is a reason why we only annexed, you know, I'm talking about literally feet on either side of 259. First elected in '05, we had an ongoing war with the Tryon Water District, certain individuals in City Hall. And after about my first year, this is enough. We went to arbitration, okay, to get this finished, so that we could push forward and do some annexing and do encourage additional development. But at the end of the day, Tryon Water owns what's called the CCN up there. They own the water rights. Everything below their ground, they own. And if we want to annex areas that they own that water, we got to buy that water from them. Now, guess what that costs? Not only do we have to buy what they think, that's kind of like, and I know Mr. Dyer knows about the kind of oil and gas where they can borrow this money, drill this well, and they think there's this amount of reserve in there. And if there isn't, but you know, that's what it's based on. They went and formed a partnership with a couple other communities in Northeast Texas Water, spent $30-something million, as I recall, to build a water treatment plant up by Lake of the Pines, and they leveraged their CCN, their water rights, to help, and the rates that they charge the customers in their water district to pay the bonds off of that new facility. And I can tell you, when we were going through arbitration, we saw what the ratepayer was going to pay over, like, I think it was a 36-year period. Last year, I had a phone call from one upset resident out there about the water bill. His water bill was $8,000, 1 month. You better get used to it. But the reality is if we want, the city of Longview wants to annex any area that's currently serviced by Tryon Water, we have to purchase from them not only their reserves, what they think to be the reserves, and then of course you get into, you know, arguing if that amount of water is there or not there, and then we have to buy any infrastructure that they have in the ground, water pipes, et cetera. So council would be seriously tasked with coming up with those kind of dollars to annex an area that we got to pay that up front, and then the poor taxes we're going to collect, we won't catch up to paying that back for a long, long, long time. So right now, I don't really have an answer to how to get around that. That's a huge, huge problem.
Hi, Mayor Dean. This question was emailed in, I believe, to Kelly, and I'm just going to read it word for word. From Charles Taylor, he asked, has there been any consideration given to establishing a task force to meet with businesses in South Longview to visit about the struggles that they're having, and also forming a community development corporation that might be part of the plan that you had discussed earlier as far as looking at the
We've already got that task force in place. It's a 2-person task force.
We'll email him back and let him know.
Gary Smith and Cassia Williams.
Williams. All
You
right,
bet. They on task. No, seriously. I mean, look, we got a couple balls of fire here. You know, when Cassia was running, we're talking about kind of what council does and what council people should do and their responsibilities. And I said, you know, you need to be an advocate for your district. I didn't know she was going to take it that serious. Good Lord. But seriously, that's you know, that's working. We've got several other things that have been put in place. We've got the tax reinvestment zones all over South Longview so that people invest in those particular areas. There's some tax incentive to do so. From a residential building and whatnot, we still continue to see people come in and buy some of the distressed properties to build new houses, and they're not having to pay the water taps and some of those kind of things. There is a talk right now. We haven't done really, and somebody else asked about this earlier, we really haven't done, I think it was Dr. Lunsford, a comprehensive master plan for the city of Longview. I mean, we do the Vision 2010, we do the Vision 2015, but basically what you're trying to do in those efforts, you're biting off a few things at a time, a 5-year program. But I think it's time for us to look at a long-term, comprehensive plan for the entire city. Cash and I have talked about doing one for South Longview, but we hear Ms. Kimberly's talking about West Longview. I mean, they need to know what's going there. Look at what's going on in Eastern Longview. The south side, I mean, the northern side, I mean, the entire community is interested in what's going to be done for their particular areas of town. So I've asked the city manager's office to put together an RFQ to go out and bring to council what it would cost. It'll probably not happen until next year's budget since we're set, but to tell us what it would cost to do a comprehensive study of our community so we can put in place a real plan. We did that years and years ago, but we haven't done that for a long time, and it's probably time to look at that.
Good morning. Another question that was submitted to us is, can you talk to us about the city street bond? What is the current status and what is left to be completed?
Okay, let me give you that. Phase 1 of the upgrade. You want to run that again, Sean? Phase 1 of the upgraded all dirt roads are complete. High Street and MLK overlays, repaves are completed. We've done the sidewalks around Foster Middle School, and this year we're going to be taking care of all of the intersection improvements and downtown Green Street. So we're that program, and we actually get a presentation to council periodically that shows what the engineering time is, and I mean, this is a 6-year project. We wanted to do it that way so that we didn't tear up the entire city. So, but we do get progress reports, and right now these particular projects are either in the works or have been completed. Okay?
Mayor, can you talk to us about where we are in the process of completing Lear Park and what's in the next phase?
Good question. The main thing that I know, and Miss Laura's here, where'd she go? There you are, okay. Still looking at that new 25-year pin. She just still can't find a diamond in it. She told me it was an emerald. I'd be mad if I didn't get a diamond after 25 years. The main thing I believe that's left in the Lear Park master plan is I think it's those 250-foot fields that generally is it the 12 to 13-year-old plays on. So once we get those, we've got the 300-foot fields, we've got the soccer fields, we've got pretty much everything in place. But if there was an investment needed to be made sooner than later, it would be to get those particular parks in, because now, Dr. Andy Mack, God bless him, when he was talking about sports tourism and bringing these major championships to the city, we can't bring those here until we have those fields to compete on as well. I think the T-ball fields, are we pretty much done with that? Those have to be done too. There's 4 of those. And as far as property, do we have enough property at this time? Okay. So, I mean, the next, we need to consider the next time that we have a bond or a CIP election to consider that is a way to move forward to get that project completed. Or, we're budgeting our finances this year very conservatively, and I would hope that if the economy does rebound, continues to rebound somewhat, and gives us a break, that even we might consider some general fund monies to go to some parts of this project. But those are the main things that have to be completed out there. I know that lady's legs are getting tired having to keep coming up here.
Mr. Mayor, I hesitate to come up because they let these guys off the hook. They should be coming up too. But let me give you a question, another question that came in from our Chamber of Commerce members. It was pointed out that you're reelected again, the longest serving mayor in Longview's history, I think, maybe, perhaps. A businessman too. What have you learned in terms of running a city, running a business? How well do business principles apply to running government operation. What have you learned about that? You know, we talk a lot about that. We hear a lot about that. You've experienced it. What have you learned?
Okay. That's an interesting question. I'm glad you asked that. I can remember when I was first elected, and we had a city manager at the time that I was the person that interviewed him right out here in Pine Tree the night we were interviewing him. David, where are you? Oh, he's on the first. No, I mean McWhorter. Mayor's out there on the first, so he'd tell me he'd wave to y'all. He's already out there. But Ricky Childers, and Ricky was at the time, he was perfect for what we needed at the time. But Ricky and I, after I was elected, you know, he was already kind of looking at retirement, looking down the road, and he promised me he'd stay in at least through my first term because he wasn't sure I'd get a second one. But Ricky and I had a conversation one day as we were working on budget, and Ricky was pretty much he's strictly what the charter says. That budget's my budget, okay? And I kind of felt like, well, the people elected me. No, by charter, that is your responsibility. But I think I have a little bit of input. So does council, you know, about where we see things. But Ricky we had one of those conversations. He started telling me about that. You know, now look, you got to understand, you know, city business isn't like your business. I said, really? Kind of the same thing, right? I mean, you got revenues, you got expenses, you got employee problems, it's kind of the same. But I think I always use the term municipaladians. I think many, especially the old-time municipaladians, really do believe that city's not a business. Well, I completely disagree with that, and I think it's proven to be true. You know, Mr. Willard, when Mr. Willard was hired, explained we expected it to be run as a business, and he's done that each year. He does sit down with me. Of course, I always pick on him about the number 2 sharp pencil, you know, and I keep a box in his office. But, you know, what we learned, Dr. Lunsford, in business, running, building, you know, supporting a business, I think strong consideration needs to be given, you know, to the next candidates for this job, that they do have, you know, business acumen, that they do understand, you know, the numbers and how the numbers work. And the second thing is it's a commitment of time. It's a balancing act. I mean, I just started this new business. I thought you were going to talk about my old business earlier, but I just couldn't get into retirement mode, and really engaged in it. And it's long days, okay? And you balance with your, you know, with your city obligations as well. But by far, I don't think, I think my learning curve would have been a lot longer, you know, if I didn't have a business background when I was first elected. And let me tell you this, we've had some really good mayors in Longview that really should have had another term. I mean, they really should have. I mean, the politics of Longview in some of these cases were just bad. And it was bad because the way this council, not this council, the way the council was behaving. You know, I mean, good Lord. I mean, we made a good TV show. You know, we didn't like it. I mean, I could have got up under my desk at times and hid. I mean, couldn't believe what so many people were saying. But you know, there were some really good mayors that should have gotten a second term, that didn't get a second term, and I think maybe because they didn't understand the business of the city, okay? I mean, it is a business, and you got to, you know, the Vision 2010, the Vision 2015, you got to plan. I mean, and again, major issues are going to come up. You have to use your business skills, I think, you know, to work the issues through. I mean, that involves being, you know, lobbying, being a cheerleader, being a compromiser. I mean, there's things you got to do to make that happen. And I'll close that comment with, I wish it'd be a prerequisite in Washington, D.C., that every one of those people in Congress and the White House had a business background, knew what a budget was, signed a payroll, and understood what the heck's going on, so we wouldn't be in the mess we're in today. You can tell there's no businessmen up there.
Jim Ugman. I just wanted to, we've talked a lot about redevelopment. I think that's really important to Longview and the picking up the trash. And one thing I just want to make sure that y'all give proper emphasis to is the city has really built a great water system. I mean, a couple of years ago when we were having the drought, and I asked Keith Bonds about it, and he told me, what about our resources and how long we could stretch out. And I was really impressed. But some of our pipes and some of our systems have been cobbled together through the years. And I'd just like for that to get the emphasis that it needs, because for fire safety in our city, for some of these areas to be redeveloped, I think there's probably going to be some additional investment needed in those areas. So when y'all are talking about that, I would like, to speaking to the council here, for that to, get its attention and get its to do. Nobody's ever going to see that new pipe under the ground.
No.
And so it's not a real glitzy or romantic thing to do. But so if you can speak to that, are there plans to kind of help?
Oh, it's ongoing, Jim. I mean, when we did the new Lake of the Pines water treatment plant on the north side of town, I mean,
that was great.
We had to change all of that infrastructure, and that infrastructure has continued to move to the south, okay? When you talk about the Pine Tree area, which I talked about earlier, I mean, that infrastructure, you talk about cobbled together,
Yeah.
It wasn't only cobbled together, it was broke down, it was way too small, and it was really deterring development in that area, because there was no way businesses could expand because the water pressures and water volumes were so small because of the size pipes. They couldn't do it. So we've been conscious of that issue, and we have a plan. It's called the capital improvements plan for each department, each rate. And in terms of the water department, we had another little rate increase this year. Those rate increases go directly to a lot of these capital improvement programs, as well as paying for the expense of the service, okay? I think next year, with the rate we just did, we're going to be able to meet our covenants for our bonds, but we're also going to accumulate, is it $2 million, I think? That's going to go to cash funding. Not going to borrow money against our rate again, but we'll cash fund some more of these projects. So there is a capital improvements plan in place to continue to enhance and rebuild a lot of that piping. But the other thing that you mentioned, talking to Keith, we are extremely blessed with the water sources we got. We've got 3 50-year contracts in place for water, so we'll be in good shape for a long time to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're having fun today. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, well, look, again, thank you all for giving me the opportunity. Has this been better than you sitting up there watching that screen and me putting you to sleep? Well, okay, thank you all a lot.